Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and today I have Polly. And Polly and I actually met online. She is in the SEO world, which I'll let you introduce, but she is in the SEO world and we met online. And she has a very interesting story because she lived in Vietnam and now she is in the Virgin Islands. So without, giving too much away, Polly, can you introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, what you do, and then we'll get started on how was childhood?
Yes, of course. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Polly Clover, and I am an SEO writer and consultant. So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. So I help businesses use their website to show up on Google.
Awesome. And so we'll get into your business a little bit later because I definitely want to know like how you got into that and how all that plays out and how you help people. So first I love, giving a little background of each guest. So where did you grow up and how was childhood for you?
Yeah, so I am from the US, from South Carolina. And growing up, I guess life wasn't always the easiest. I did have a very loving family, which of course I'm incredibly grateful for. But I lost my dad at a young age, and I also have a special needs sister. So both of these, circumstances were definitely a bit challenging growing up.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it was a simple but good life. I think like with many upbringings, there were good and bad times, but yeah, overall, pretty good.
Awesome. So South Carolina, cool. And
Yeah.
so tell us what led into you moving to Vietnam and how long were you there for?
So, I guess kind of going back to the growing up, I was a pretty, I don't know if sheltered is the word, but I didn't leave home very much, I guess you
Okay.
could say. Like we didn't travel much as a family. I had never been outside of the US before. And when I went to college for education and became a teacher. So I did that in South Carolina as well. And I was a teacher for about 6 years or so in South Carolina in the public school system. And as any teacher who might be listening or former teacher, anyone that knows anything about education, that led to serious burnout.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I was just really burnt out. And honestly, I was just bored. I was, I guess at that time, probably in my late 20s. And I just, like I said, I kind of had always been in South Carolina, hadn't really done too much. Like I said, my life was pretty simple. So, I guess a mix of burnout and boredom got my wheels spinning, looking into what else I could do. And I kind of came across the idea of teaching abroad, which obviously fit with what I was already doing as a teacher. So, to be honest, as soon as I kind of found the opportunity, or the idea, I guess, to teach abroad, I kind of ran with it. And it
Mm.
was really within a few months where I decided, like, okay, I'm going for this. And so, yeah, I finished out that school year and then got a certificate to teach English as a foreign language and moved to Vietnam, yeah, within a year of all
Okay,
of that.
brave. Talk about brave because not everyone would do that. It's like, oh, I'm bored. Let's see what, let's go move to a whole different country on the other side of the
Yeah, I kind
world.
of went to the extreme with it, but I'm so glad I did.
So let's talk about your time in Vietnam. How was it when you first got there? Cultural shocks that you experienced. Yeah, tell us all about it.
It's kind of interesting because, again, as someone who really hadn't left the South of the United States, you would think I would have gotten there and just been in complete culture shock, but I think I was so excited and so like ready for a new opportunity that It was a relatively easy transition. Of course, there were challenges, but most of the cultural differences were like really nice surprises for me.
Mm.
Just like the more relaxed lifestyle, definitely more affordable than the US, very friendly people, all of that, and kind of also I guess, digital nomad traveling community too that I met when I got there made it much easier. So overall, it was a pretty good transition. I would say like the main difficulties were, of course, the language barrier.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you teach in a classroom when you were over there, or did you teach online?
I did. I briefly taught first grade in a classroom. I ended up
Oh,
getting a job at a private school, and my students had already learned English. So most of them, we were able to communicate in English, and I actually ended up teaching in English. So I did that for a period of time, but I actually broke my foot while I was over there, so I had
oh.
to quit my teaching job, which is kind of what led me into to my business, to be honest. But I ended up also teaching online, and I taught English to um, students from China. So I kind of, yeah, I did the classroom thing in Vietnam, and then I transitioned, or while I was doing that, and then beyond that, I also taught English online.
So the first graders that you were teaching, they had already known English. So is it common over there for English to be taught?
It is not.
Oh,
It where I was actually in the capital of Vietnam. The city is Hanoi, and so, but honestly, no. English was definitely not is and it still is not spoken by most local Vietnamese people, but I think it just was by happenstance that the job I ended up
mm,
finding was in this private school where English is taught. So
okay.
it just happened to kind of work out that way.
Okay, that's awesome. And how long were you there for?
I lived my that was my home base for probably about a year. But I was over in Southeast Asia, living in Vietnam, and then traveling a bit, kind of around for a total of about 2 years.
Okay. And so then you came back to the US after the 2 years?
I did.
Okay. And then how was that adjusting then? Adjusting back to the US? Was there like an adjustment period or did you kind of just like fit right? Like, no, okay, it was nothing.
There was absolutely an adjustment period, and to be
Oh.
honest, it still is. It's funny because it was a harder transition coming back to the US versus
Mm,
moving abroad. Which is, of course, not what I expected at all.
yeah.
But yeah, it's been about 5 years since I've been back. And to be honest, I'm not entirely adjusted. I think that I kind of just clicked with my life there so quickly and loved
Oh,
it so much and enjoyed it more. It kind of opened up my eyes to a lot of the issues, I guess, in the US.
yeah.
So that's a whole different topic, but I think that it sort of I saw this different world and way of living, and I enjoyed it so much. So coming back and not
Yeah.
having that anymore was really difficult, and still is, to be honest. And it was a big part of why I actually moved to the US Virgin Islands, which is where I live now.
Yeah. So we can say that like it just opened up your eyes to like a different, like you said, like a different way of living. So it's kind of like the way that we live in the US, we don't like it's not the only way people live. It's like there's
Yes, I
other.
think, yeah, it was definitely a big kind of light bulb moment where, like, oh my gosh, there is a whole world outside of this. And like I said,
Yes.
because I hadn't really been
Hmm.
many places or done many things, I didn't realize that. And especially being from the South, like, you don't meet a lot of different people, and
Yeah.
especially people from all over the world from different cultures. So, and I just really enjoyed it. So I think coming back to the US, back to South Carolina, um, I sort of was like, oh gosh, it was almost like my world opened up when I was abroad,
Yeah.
and then it all closed back in. So
Oh,
that was difficult for sure.
yeah. Yeah. So I hope anyone who's listening who hasn't been, outside of the US, I hope this really, I don't know, have that interest, to like go
Mhm.
explore and see and learn about different cultures, how
Yeah,
people
I think
live
that's the
in.
big thing. People are, scared or think they can't do it, or,
Yeah.
of course, there's all different barriers, and I understand that, but I do think if there's any way, shape, or form that anyone can kind of get outside of their bubble, I
Yeah.
definitely recommend it. Even when I got back, I ended up road tripping around the US for a while, and even that was a cool experience because I got to
Oh,
see other parts of the country that I hadn't seen before. I mean, even the US itself is such a huge place with all
yeah.
sorts of people and places, and I hadn't seen that before. So kind of going abroad and coming back inspired me to explore more, which was another really cool experience.
That's awesome. Have you been thinking about starting your very own podcast? Well, I created a podcast course to help you launch your podcast without feeling overwhelmed and with simplicity. Okay. So it is a 6-week podcast course. Each video is less than 15 minutes long, so it doesn't take that much time to get through. And it breaks down the steps that you need to launch your podcast. Again, 6 weeks or less. So you can do it faster than 6 weeks, or you can take longer than 6 weeks. It's all up to you. You do it at your pace. And you will get lifetime access to this course. In addition to the 6 modules or the 6 videos, you also get videos about editing. You'll also get the podcast digital planner, which helps you create your content and helps you with the episode outline and helps you with the show notes outline and helps you stay on track with the podcast cycle checklist. It has the guest intake form and also a Google Sheet episode organizer to make sure that you are organized and set up from the jump to be able to plan out your content, organize your episodes, because that is key to long-term podcasting, right? You'll also get 3 exclusive interviews with leading podcasters who are killing it in the industry. And in addition to all of that, you will also get the podcast workbook, like how to launch a podcast workbook that goes along with each module. So you can watch the videos and then also follow along with the workbook. All of that is included in the course. If you are interested, head over to my Stan store. The link is in the show notes and the show description, so you can sign up for the course. And there's also a referral program included. If you refer someone to me to launch their podcast and they sign up for the course, I will give you $50. That's right. You will receive $50 if the person you referred does sign up for the podcast course. So all the information is in my Stan store. If you have any specific questions, you can always email me at Heidi@HeidiDeLaCruz.com, and let's get your podcast launched. So what led you to then move to the U.S. Virgin Islands?
So, as soon as I got back, actually, from living abroad, I met who is my now fiance, and we ended up moving to Georgia together, which is, another southern state, and we didn't love it there. So we moved there for his job, actually. So we were there for about a year, and we were just kind of like, we don't want to stay here. We really want something new. Again, I was really experiencing that reverse culture shock even still.
Oh, wow.
And so we both just really wanted a different experience. And he started looking for jobs. And because we weren't being super particular with where we might end up, he was looking at jobs everywhere. And one popped up here for him, and he asked if I would be interested in moving to the US Virgin Islands. And we were here within 6 weeks of that. So,
Wow. So you're like, yes, let's go.
yeah, I was like, yeah, let's do it. So.
So, although the U.S. Virgin Islands obviously is it's territory of the United States, can you tell us a little, some of the differences that there are with living there versus living here in the States?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, people hear island life and they think I'm like living this incredible dream. But to be honest, it is far from perfect here, and it's definitely challenging in its own ways. I do really enjoy like the more laid back lifestyle here.
Mm,
Um, and the incredible beaches and views are not bad either. And then also just again, I think it goes back a lot of the times for me meeting people and getting to know people that I wouldn't have otherwise. So while it's not perfect, there are definitely a lot of benefits to being here that I really enjoy.
yeah, for sure. And so let's talk about your business.
Yeah.
How that got started, because you mentioned a little bit about, breaking your foot and kind of like that's how you got it. So tell us the
Mhm.
story about how you actually started your business.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm an SEO writer and consultant. So when I broke my foot while teaching in Vietnam. I ended up having to quit my job. It was really difficult, and that's probably one of my main challenge there because healthcare is a little bit different there. But I got
Mm,
through it, and all is well. But during that time, I was kind of laid up in bed, like what do I do? And fortunately, the cost of living there is much more affordable than the States. So it wasn't this massive stress, but at the same time, it's like I eventually have to start making money again. What can I
yeah.
do? And so I was kind of, stuck inside with a broken foot and ended up again doing some research and kind of figuring out like next steps. What can I do? I definitely didn't want to have to come back to the States yet. I wasn't ready for that. And at that point, I hadn't traveled around that area yet. So then I started thinking, like, okay, what could I do where I could work remotely and stay here. And I had written some blog articles for the program that I got my teaching English as a foreign language certificate from. I had written some articles for them and had a lot of fun with it. And I guess I kind of looked more into that and was like, I can write blog articles for like other businesses and other
Yeah.
websites. That sounds kind of cool. Oh, I can get paid for this. Like, that sounds great. So it kind of started with that, where I was just writing blog articles for different websites. And yeah, over the years, I really ramped it back up when I moved back to the States because I didn't want to go back into a traditional 9 to 5 job. I didn't want to go back into the classroom. So I ended up, using those content writing skills that I had developed to kind of grow this business into what it is now. And so it's been 5 years now. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. And what is your favorite thing about what you do?
Um, Gosh, I love it so much. So it's tough to pick one thing. I think where I'm at right now in my business and, all the people that I've met doing it and the people I get to talk to, it's that, I found that with business owners, a lot of us are very tired of the social media grind. We've
Oh.
kind of learned that that's how and we've
Yes.
talked about this.
Yes, we have.
That's kind of a lot of business owners think that they have to, do the social media hustle in order to, grow their audience, grow their businesses. And so I think my favorite part is helping people realize that this isn't the case. It's really,
Mm,
I guess, rewarding to work with people and kind of help them discover that there are ways that you can grow a business that are sustainable and won't burn you out. So I think that's
yeah.
kind of my favorite part because I've done it for my own business over the years. So really getting to help people do that too is just really rewarding.
Yeah, and so I know that you help with SEO. Is there anything else, like what other services or offers do you have to help people in case any of the listeners are interested?
Yeah, so my main service is SEO. And what that means really is that I help people use their website to show up on Google. So I offer website copywriting and blogging services, like I said, to help them show up on Google. And of course, writing their website copy and content in a way that helps them not only, get traffic from Google, but also hopefully make sales. That's the goal, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, my services are very customizable, but the majority of what I do is related to website copy and content writing and optimizing for SEO.
Perfect. And okay, so last two questions. Thank you so much again for coming and sharing your journey. I really hope this does inspire someone to, go out there and explore, learn new cultures and things like that. I've actually have enjoyed seeing people like, Americans and see that they've lived abroad and like share their experience because it's just you just learn so much from different cultures
Mhm.
and stuff
Really
like
do.
that. So
Mhm.
I love asking my guests. The majority are immigrants, but I love asking this as well to the non-immigrants that I do interview is what does the American dream mean to you?
This one's tough. And I know, yeah, like you said, you interview mostly immigrants, so my
Yeah.
answer might vary, but I guess that makes it interesting, especially as an American who's lived abroad. Um,
Yes.
I know the idea of the American dream is that anyone can achieve success in the US is kind of like the overarching theme. But I guess if I'll share my truthful answer here, I think there are a lot of nuances to that. I definitely agree that there are, of course, a lot of opportunities in the US, but I think it is up to us as individuals to create that success for ourselves. I know that's harder though for some people to do than others. So I think that's something we miss when we talk about the American dream. It's not always so easy, although it is achievable just with a lot of work and it looks different for everybody. Success isn't the same for everyone and it certainly isn't one size fits all. So I think yeah, the American dream really is about digging really deep, I guess, to know what as individuals we desire and need,
Yeah.
and what defines success for us.
That's beautiful. That is perfect. That is so true. What the common theme is like the opportunities, but like you're right, it is up to us to, dig in and do the hard work. And it's not going to be the same for
Mhm.
everybody. Like everyone's journey is different. So other people will have different challenges and hurdles that they have to go through and things like that. So
Exactly.
thank you so much for that. That was such a beautiful answer. And so
Oh, sure.
lastly, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so any place to find me and everything I'm doing is on my website, which is www.pollycloverwrites.com. So that's where you can find all of my services, and I offer a lot of free resources too. Again, everything is kind of geared towards helping business owners show up on Google and, create really good website content. So everything about that is on my website. And I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn at Polly Clover. And of course, I like to hang out on Threads too, which, we see each
Yes.
other there. So yeah, but again, everything is on my website.
Perfect. I will include your links in the show notes and the show description for those who would like to connect with you are able to. And once again, Polly, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, you want to leave the audience with any last words of encouragement?
Um, well, first of all, thank you so much. It was fun kind of talking about all of this. And I think kind of if I had to leave one word, it would be, or let's say two words of encouragement are kind of get out there, explore, meet new people, and also to the business owners, create a business that feels good for you. Success isn't the same for everyone. So do what feels
I
good for you.
I love that. Perfect way to end this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Mummy Podcast.